I've never tried pixel art before, but it can't be too difficult, right? At least that's what I thought when watching Viora try it out, so maybe I'll become obsessed like her, who knows. So yes, I will master the art of the pixel with 3 different challenges. Easy, which is a plant, medium, which is me, and to prove my mastery, impossible, which is a landscape. And if I like it enough, a bonus challenge at the very end. So first step in my mastery, some greenery. So the majority of pixel art that I've seen, like, ever is just plants. So, of course I'll do something like this or this. I don't really know yet. And since it's literally my first time ever attempting pixel art, I needed to make it as easy as possible. So I made the canvas 50 by 50 pixels, which in pixel art terms is actually a lot. But of course, I didn't know that before. And with so many pixels for only one small drawing, I had so much room to work. It didn't really matter that one pixel was off because the rest would just take the focus off of the bad pixel, which I would say is some pretty nice cover up because that was actually what I was worried about the most. I've heard so many people talk about one pixel being off and that will ruin the entire drawing, but I gotta skip that anxiety for this first one at least, but we'll get more into that later. So, I had no clue how to start, but when that happens, you've gotta just push through. It was a lot of trial and error, but I really just laid down the base colors, which were only 2 because it's a freaking pot and a few flowers. But I also learned that mostly, since there's no room, pixel art doesn't need line art, which was very exciting to find out. But it also made me kind of confused on how big everything should be and what the forms should look like. But as I said before, it's just a few flowers in a pot, so it wasn't difficult to figure out. And when I finished the base colors, including the flowers, I started shading. And I just decided to do everything on the same layer, just using alpha lock. I don't know why, but I did. Maybe I just thought that it was illegal with pixel art or something. Again, I don't know. But this one literally took 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna let that sink in. 5 minutes for this. Yeah. I realized maybe I made it a bit too easy on myself. Can this even be considered true pixel art? I mean, it's a lot of pixels. Some might even say too many pixels. And that is why this next challenge is a lot harder. It's because, first of all, I'm drawing myself. Secondly, I'm cutting the pixel count down by more than half. So instead of 50 by 50, it is now 20 by 20. That's not a lot of pixels. And you remember me saying before, with so many pixels, I don't need to worry about messing one up. That's not the case here. Although the drawing may look a lot simpler, let me tell you something. It is a lot harder. Every single freaking pixel, every single square of color counts. One off, and my character will look insane. So of course, I came into this drawing very stressed. But of course, I've got to see what other people are doing, and a lot of these look really good. I do notice that a lot of them don't have mouths. Maybe a problem in the future. I don't know about that. But since I had experience from my flower pot before, I had thankfully found a good order to do things. First, determine forms by laying down base colors, then simple shadows, highlights, and finally, low opacity shading and highlights of the entire piece. Now, although I knew it was going to be different because I had barely any pixels, I still thought it wouldn't be awful. Bro, I was very wrong. So I start doing the forms with the base colors, right? But no. That was actually difficult. See, I didn't know how big I wanted my face. Didn't know how big I wanted my whole body. How big my hair was supposed to be. Like, should my arms be 1 pixel or 2? But how do you even determine the arms if there is no line art? As you can tell, a lot of questions. So I ended up deciding that I wanted to literally just copy the Sona that you see right now, but make it pixelated. And I thought I was done with the base colors. So I moved on and found my first obstacle. The face. I could barely add the eyes, and I couldn't add a freaking centered mouth. So, after much trial and error of rearranging the size of the face, hair, and body, I just went back to how it was before and made it so it didn't have a mouth. Then, my next obstacle, yay, the arms. I tried to shade them, but it did not look right because you couldn't really determine what was an arm and what was the body. So I ended up making myself a bit fatter, and it actually looked kind of good. Then, I finally finally got to add the shading. Only had a little trouble making the neck make sense, and drum roll please, here is the finished result. I honestly really surprised myself with this one, and yeah, with this next challenge, if I pull it off, I really think I'll be able to master the art of the pixel. I'll be able to complete this challenge I have set out for myself. And as I said before, this is the impossible challenge. So compared to my last two, it's a really big step, because for this one, I want to do an insanely detailed landscape. I know it's a lot different than what I've been doing, but to master the art of the pixel, I've also got to master the harder stuff. But of course, like all the other drawings, I need to find a reference, and a lot of these look like they're AI, and a lot of them don't even look like pixel art at all. So I don't know. I actually don't know what I'm gonna do with this. It's definitely gonna be more difficult than the other ones. Now, since I wanted to make it really detailed, I made the canvas size like something random. Oh, here, let's look at it. 139 by 183. Very odd. And again, I have my process that I like. Forms and base, colors, dark, highlights, and shadows, and then lighter shadows and highlights, and all on one layer. Well, all of that went completely out the window when doing this one. First of all, I started out with a sketch. I know, it's literally insane. But since there was actually going to be a lot in this drawing, and there were going to be enough pixels to actually make one, I really needed to get a rough sketch to help figure out what I actually wanted to do, and ended up with the idea of the top of a mountain with a bunch of clouds, and then on the mountain is like a little civilization or a town or whatever. But yeah, started with a sketch, then added a layer underneath and laid out the base colors, which actually was a lot harder than it was before, because this time I actually had to think about what colors would look good in an environmental drawing and cohesive enough to actually be a good picture. And even crazier, guys, this is insane. I made each base color and form on a different layer. That's crazy. But you'll see why I did that later. Now, after I got all these base colors done, I wanted to focus on the background, which was a lot harder than I thought it would be, because first of all, I wanted a gradient. And I thought, oh, the pixels are small enough, I'll just use my blending brush and everything will be a-okay. No, everything was not, in fact, fine. So whenever I used this brush, it just smoothed everything out so much that it didn't even look like pixel art anymore. So I had to blend it manually, which took a lot longer than I wanted it to, but it ended up looking pretty peak, so I think it was worth it. Then I moved on to the mountain, and like the first drawing, it was a lot of trial and error, but I eventually got it, and in my brain mapped out where I wanted like the civilization thing to be. Then the clouds, pretty much all the same as everything else. Shading, but not too dark, or it would blend in with the background, but not too light, so it wouldn't look out of place. Then I finally added the civilization thing. I added the base colors again. Then what I really wanted to do, added the small lights, and they were not as small as I wanted, but it's good enough. And then I was done with this as the finished piece, bro. It actually turned out so much better than I thought. Like, I'm genuinely flabbergasted that I created that. So I think I can successfully say that I have mastered the art of the pixel. And since I actually liked it so much, I challenged myself to do one last thing. I know, a bonus challenge, guys, but I sadly did not film it. Anyway, I turned my last drawing into like a little pixel animation, which I also think looks amazing. Overall, in my own way, I have mastered pixel art and have also learned that it's really fun. Bro, like, I really did not think I would like it as much as I did, but I actually really like it a lot, and I am super excited to do it in the future, maybe hinting at future videos here. Now, for the amazing outro, guys, we have a few things to do here. First, if you've got no clue what to draw, this week's challenge is to recreate one of your favorite drawings or OCs in pixel art. I know you could not have guessed that at all. Such a surprise. If you participate, then be sure to post it in my community or tag me, because I would absolutely love to see all of the amazing art that you guys have. Now, our weekly reminder to not use AI. Got it. Good. And then still pretty new, but a weekly writing update. So right now I'm actually working on editing/rewriting chapter 18, and I am at 30,000 words, I think, so far. So now I'm sure you will enjoy the video on the screen right now. So I'll see you there, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.